All right, let's dive right into this rapid-fire explainer to conquer the real estate markets and appraisal sections of your Florida FREC I exam. Now, according to the state's Candidate Information Booklet, these two critical domains make up a combined 9% of your test. That's 1% for markets and a hefty 8% for appraisal. We're talking about nearly 1/10 of your entire score sitting right here in this session. So, grab your notebooks, clear away those distractions, and let's lock in these points.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, markets and basic value. Second, key principles of value. Third, appraisals versus CMAs. Fourth, 3 approaches to value. And finally, we'll hit a rapid review exam quiz to test your retention. Let's get to work. Section 1, markets and basic value.
Now, before we actually appraise anything, we have to clear up some definitions. Novices easily confuse these 3 terms all the time, but on the state exam, they have highly specific definitions you gotta know. Cost is what it takes in past expenditures to create or build the property. Think labor and materials, right? Price is the actual historical amount someone literally just paid in a transaction. It's a factual, hard number. Value, on the other hand, is the estimated worth of the property based on current market dynamics. A great way to remember this? You build for cost, you buy for price, and you appraise for value.
Moving on to Section 2, key principles of value. Let's look at the core principles that appraisers use to justify market values. These 3 rules basically dictate all market behavior, and you will almost certainly see them on your test. First up is substitution, which prevents overpaying. Basically, a rational buyer is absolutely not going to pay $1 million for a home if an equally desirable one right next door is selling for $800,000. Makes sense, right? Second is highest and best use, which demands maximum profitability. You have to ask, is that vacant corner lot best used as a single-family home, or is it legally permitted and way more profitable as a commercial plaza? And finally, conformity. This relies on neighborhood uniformity. A property's value is maximized when it blends in with the size, style, and condition of the surrounding homes. Okay, Section 3, appraisals versus CMAs. This is a massive compliance issue in Florida law, so listen closely. The crucial point here is the strict legal boundary that Florida Chapter 475 draws between real estate licensees and certified appraisers. As a licensee, you can absolutely perform a comparative market analysis, or CMA, and you can issue a broker price opinion, or BPO. You can even do this for compensation in the ordinary course of your business. But here is the catch. Under Chapter 475, calling a CMA or a BPO a certified appraisal is a fast track to disciplinary action. Certified appraisals must conform to USPA standards and require a state-licensed or state-certified appraiser. So do not cross that semantic line.
Which brings us nicely to Section 4, 3 approaches to value.
Understanding that semantic line we just drew brilliantly illustrates why we need to understand the actual mechanics of estimating real property value. Appraisers rely on a sort of 3-step hierarchy to arrive at a value. Step 1 is the sales comparison approach. This is primarily used for residential properties and vacant land, and it relies heavily on that principle of substitution we just talked about. Step 2 is the cost-depreciation approach, which calculates the replacement cost minus depreciation. This is going to be your go-to for unique or special purpose buildings. And step 3 is the income capitalization approach, which literally converts the future income of an investment property into present value. Now, when you're tackling that income capitalization approach on your exam, you need to drill the IRV formula into your memory. This is foundational real estate math right here. Net operating income, which is the I, equals the capitalization rate, the R, multiplied by the value, V. It's that simple. If you know any 2 of these numbers, you can instantly solve for the third. Furthermore, you must know about the Gross Rent Multiplier, or GRM. This is another vital income metric. It's simply the property's sale price divided by its gross monthly rent. It really just acts as a quick rule of thumb to evaluate the potential of a residential investment property before you dive deep into the full IRV formula.
Section 5, rapid review exam quiz.
Okay, it is time for the gauntlet. We've covered the core concepts, and now we're going to run a rapid review quiz to lock in this knowledge and prove you're actually ready for exam day. I'll read the question, you pause and answer it in your head, and then I'll reveal the solution. Ready? Question 1. Which principle states that a buyer will pay no more for a property than the cost of an equally desirable alternative? Think about it.
Got it? It's the principle of substitution, and the reason is simple. Rational buyers always compare alternatives in the open market before opening their wallets. Let's see how this builds.
Question 2. According to Chapter 475, can a real estate licensee perform a CMA and legally call it an appraisal?
That is an absolute no. Under Chapter 475, CMAs and BPOs are explicitly excluded from the definition of an appraisal, and that's really just to protect consumers from misleading information. Question 3. Which approach to value is best suited for a unique special purpose building, like a church or a courthouse? That would be the cost-depreciation approach. This is because special purpose properties don't generate rent for an income approach, and they rarely have comparable market sales for a sales comparison approach. You basically have to figure out what it costs to build it from scratch. All right, time for some IRV math. Question 4. If a property has a net operating income of $50,000 and a capitalization rate of 10%, what is its value?
$500,000. By rearranging that IRV formula we talked about, we know that value equals income divided by the rate. So 50,000 divided by 10% gives you 500,000. Easy, right?
Final question in the gauntlet. What exact mathematical formula determines the gross rent multiplier? It is the sale price divided by the gross monthly rent. This provides investors with a quick, standardized ratio of price to income. And there you have it. You've successfully conquered the crucial 9% of the exam covering markets and appraisal. You know the physical and economic characteristics, the legal boundaries, and the math. But I want to leave you with this final thought. You just crushed this section, but are you ready to apply this exact same relentless discipline to master the remaining 91% of your real estate exam? Keep studying, stay structured, and go past that test.